All right, I think we're getting pretty close to the I told you so moment here. And by that I mean, at every one of these intermediate cycle declines, you get a bundle of people that get frustrated and they get too bearish and they quit, they give up, they sell at the very bottom. And then they miss, um, let's just say they miss a good chunk of the advancing phase of the next intermediate rally. Um, and usually what happens is, they buy up in here and then they get caught in the next intermediate decline. Same thing, of course, happened here when gold broke out above 2000 here. I'm sure a lot of people, this was a very frustrating period, chopping around, going nowhere. And then we finally start to really get some traction to the upside. And then, of course, this is, and I saw people said that they were going to do this. They were going to wait for a breakout above 2000 to buy. And so, they're buying on this breakout above 2000. And then what happens is a cartel the very next day, the cartel jumps into action and they slam gold right back down and close it back below 2000. And then we start the intermediate decline. So, they putzed around and waited, and then they waited for their emotions to give them the all clear, and then they end up buying at the top. So, that bundle of people that do this at every one of the bottoms, they did it here, they're doing it here as usual. This is very tough to do, but you need to buy when you're most afraid to pull the trigger, and you need to sell when it's very difficult to want to take profits. When all you can see is blue sky ahead, and you're feeling really good about your positions, that probably means it's about time to sell. So we're in this period here where we're in the timing band for this intermediate cycle low. I've covered this in depth in my previous videos. I don't think there's much chance that this is going to drop below this intermediate cycle low here, and that's the only thing that would change my view. Right now I'm bullish on the metals. I think we're probably going to have a breakout above these all-time highs probably this year, but I think before the 8-year cycle tops, I think we're going to have a breakout here. So let me zoom in just a little bit. Gold is right on the edge of completing a swing low. And that's the first sign that I look for when I'm trying to call the bottom of a daily cycle. And I'm pretty sure that the bottom of this daily cycle is also going to be an intermediate cycle low. And then we'll start the advancing phase of the next intermediate cycle. And as I'm speaking here, I think, yes, we do have a slight breakout. So we do have a swing forming this evening. Now, I'm going to advise just a little bit of caution here because we've got options expiration at the end of the week, and the cartel just loves to whipsaw gold bugs during an options expiration week. So we could get a breakout and a nice little move. There's probably going to be some resistance here at the 200-day moving average. The cartel may try and take this back down, and they may not be able to make a lower low, but they may hit it hard enough to scare out anybody that takes an early position here. So maybe, you get a partial position here and then kind of wait and see, what stunts are pulled for options expiration at the end of the week before you go ahead and get into full positions. But, the same thing is going to happen here as it does at all of these bottoms. All of the people that gave up and panicked and sold during this downtrend, they're gonna miss this bottom. They're too afraid to pull the trigger because they've got the memory of this behind them, and this is much uglier in silver and miners. That's where the cartel has really been concentrating. So they're shell shocked, and they're only expecting bad things to happen. And so it's just impossible for them to be a contrarian investor. You have to be able to set your emotions aside and think logically in order to use these kind of strategies. And most people just are not emotionally capable of taking contrarian trades. Very often you'll be a little early, and if that happens, then you have to have the discipline to stick with your trade, knowing that that there is going to be an intermediate rally. And if you're a little early, it's not the end of the world. And that may be the case here. We may be just a little bit early, and the cartel may really start to pound on the metals again Wednesday or Thursday and try and knock this back down ahead of options expiration. But we're pretty close, I think. Now let me look at silver here, because this is the one I've kind of been highlighting. I noted this in, I believe it was my last video, that, and I've said this in several of my public videos, is that breakouts and breakdowns that occur late in a cycle don't tend to produce sustained moves. So when you get in this case, this is a breakdown. So when you get a breakdown like this that occurs really late in an intermediate decline, I just kind of naturally assume that it's going to be a bear trap, and that you're just not going to get much follow through. And that's kind of what appears to be happening. Again, this could be reversed by the cartel before the options expiration on Friday. But as of right now anyway, we've got a breakdown below this support zone, and then it looks like this could be a manufactured move. This whole thing kind of looks shady to me. Is a market really going to collapse this many days in a row naturally? Unlikely, in my opinion. I think the cartel was gunning for this support zone. They made sure that price broke down below it. That panicked, all of the dumb money retail traders. They all sold. They sold late in a cycle when you should not be selling into a breakdown. And then it looks to me like big money bought all of those shares and ounces that the dumb money was selling. And then now we've got a reversal, and this is looking like a false breakdown, a bear trap. Again, let me stress again that there's almost certainly going to be some shenanigans pulled at the end of the week for options expiration, but I think there's a pretty good chance this is going to turn out to be the intermediate bottom. We just may have some volatility and some back and forth churning here this week, and maybe a little bit into next week before we can get some upward momentum. All right, so, for heaven's sake, get off the dumb money train. Quit making these dumb emotional mistakes, selling late in an intermediate decline. This is not when you want to be selling. It's when you want to be looking to buy, not to panic sell. And just because something has been declining for multiple weeks doesn't mean it's going to decline forever. There's always an intermediate bottom. There's always an advancing phase of the next intermediate cycle. So while most people that don't really know what they're doing are getting more and more bearish as this is moving down, being a contrarian and understanding how these cycles work, and also understanding that we're very late in this intermediate cycle, I'm getting more and more bullish. So I'm looking for signs that it's time to start buying, and we've got one of them today. And depending on how we can close the week on Friday, we may get our, the final signals that the intermediate decline is over and that the advancing phase of the next intermediate cycle has begun. And as I've said before, if we can get up here and test this resistance zone early in the cycle, if we can get a strong push and get up here early in the cycle, then we have a very good odds of a breakout and a consolidation this long. This is, about almost, getting close to 2 years. a breakout from a 2-year base could produce a really nice move. 23, even 2,500 is not out of the question from a base this big. So, we'll see what happens the rest of the week, but I think we are setting up for a nice rally. And if it can get here early, then we're going to make some really nice moves into the fall, into September, maybe October of this year.